Hi everybody, welcome to Tech Driven Academy. In this video, we are going to be talking about CSS backgrounds. Backgrounds, it has S. So we're going to be talking about lots of backgrounds. So the CSS background property I used to add background effect for an element. Let's proceed. So it says CSS background property overview. In this chapter, you will learn more about the following CSS background properties. We have background color. If you want to use a color for your background, we have background image. And as well, we have background repeat. If you don't want your image to be repeated, background repeat was. And we have background attachment, background position, background shot, and property. These are all what we're going to be talking about in background properties. Let's proceed. So the first one we have is our CSS background color. That is, the CSS background color property specifies the background color of an element. So the CSS background color of a page is set like this. Either you can use body, tag, or anything, the background color. Then, there was a time I said this is a property and this is a value. All of them, this is a property, this is a value. So what is trying to tell us that how you go about it, you have a background color and you give it a value. You set a property, which is background color, and you give it a value. So with a CSS, a color is most often specified by a valid color named like red, or HEX values like hexadecimal, or HTML values like hexadecimal, or an RGB values like RGB. So let's proceed. You can look into CSS color values for complete lists of possible CSS values. Let's proceed. So other elements and opacity. You can set the background color of any element, of any HTML element. Here is the H1 p tag and div elements you will have different background colors for. So in our H1, it was given a background color of green, div background color of light blue, and p tag background color of yellow. We'll do an example. So the opacity transparency, the opacity property specifies the opacity of transparency of an element. We talked about that is alpha. And you can also give opacity if you don't want to go with the stress of RGBA, or just give it a value, and you also want to work with the opacity. Instead of you going back to RGBA, you can just do opacity, which is 0 point. You can just do opacity, which is 0.3% or anything, which is 0.0 to 1.0. You can use 0.9, 0.8, 7 downwards to 0.0. So note, when using the opacity property to add transparency to the background of an element, all of its children elements inherit the same transparency. This can make text inside a fully transparent element. So if you have a background image or background color, you have a background color and you only want to reduce the background. Sorry, this is what they're trying to say, is that even the text inside the background will take effect. But there's a way you can go around that. But let's proceed to the next one. We have transparency using RGBA. I made mention of that. If you don't want to apply opacity to your child element, like our example, use RGBA values to the following examples set for the opacity. Set the opacity for the background color and not the text. So we have 100% opacity, 60, 30%, 10%. You learn from our CSS color chapter that you can use RGB as a color value. In addition to RGB, you can use an RGB color value with an alpha channel like A instead of opacity, which specifies the opacity for a color. An RGBA color value is specified with red, green, blue, and alpha. The alpha parameter is a number between 0.0, which is fully transparent, and 1.0, which is fully opaque. So let's proceed. This is an example that was given. So let me create an example of this. Just creating a background color and you give it opacity. Let's come here. Let's give it like a p tag. And we'll say background color example. In this class name, you can give it background. So background. Now let's style it. We can come here and say dot background, and inside this background, and inside this background, we'll say we want our background color to be green, and we want the opacity to be 0.5. Now let's check what we have. We want the color to be white as well. Color to be white. Now let's check what we have. As you can see, because of the opacity that we gave to it, instead of you going to the stress of the RGBA, because of the opacity that we gave to it, reduce it. If I give the opacity, let's say 0.9, let's see what we have. Can you see? It's made it bolder. But if I give it 0.1, it will almost write off our background color. Can you see? Almost. So I hope you understand that part. But let's go back to our 0.8 because I like my color. Yeah, so that is that for this aspect that I just created. Can you see something similar to what we just did? So now we also have the RGBA value. Instead of going through opacity, and if you want to make it of RGBA, we can just come here, remove this, remove this opacity, and we can just come here and say RGBA, RGBA. I want A. So we'll give this one 0. We'll give this one 0. We'll give green 225. Since it's green, you know green is 255, 255. And we'll give blue 0. And why we're going to have our 0.5. We gave it 0.8 a bit. Now let's check it out. You'll see there won't be a difference. It's still the same thing we have. Oh, I didn't close this. So now let's check it out. You see, it's still the same thing we have. So if I give it 0.9, we should have a better one. We should have something better. Let's try 0.3. Okay, so it's worth like this for alpha. Can you see it's clearing off? Then let's say 1.0. If you don't want anything, if you don't want it to take any effect of that, you can just come here and do like this. Yeah, so I hope you understand this aspect, and I hope you get everything that I've just explained. So thank you for watching this video. Please do well to follow us across all socials at Tech Academy. See you next time. Bye.